Alright, well, got a couple more small detail parts to put on the model. I'm just going to paint them in their plastic rack here. Makes it a little easy. I mean, I don't have to let the rack do the holding of the part. And what I did was, for example, on bigger pieces where it was attached in 3 points, I just cut them off on 2 of them and filed them down and cleaned them up and just let it hang from 1, so when I actually get this painted and it dries and I have to cut it off, I only have 1 area to touch up as opposed to 3 separate areas. It might look, well, I think it'll end up looking a little bit cleaner that way. So let me go ahead and just paint these. I decided to be a little colorful and make these that Burlington Northern Green. I did the doors on the building. Make it a little bit more colorful than normal. I mean, I'll end up weathering the entire building, so that'll kind of dull the color down a little bit. But just wanted my ADM hopper to look interesting. I'm not necessarily out for exacting prototypical standards here. I want it to be fun to look at, so I will add a little color. So we put that, get that one. Might have to hit this with a second coat. Depends on how well this first coat went on. And in this situation, these small parts, it's hardly worth getting the airbrush ready to airbrush something this small unless you had a whole ton of these small parts to paint. So that's why I'm just doing this by hand. Just actually a lot quicker. Don't have the setup time to mess with, so yeah, this is the brace for the pipe. Oops, got a little hairball there. Alright, we'll do that. Get this brace all painted like so. And I decided not to attach the truck shed on to the back of the elevator, simply because there's just excuse me, just not enough room. And I didn't like the idea of attaching the truck shed and then just trimming it down to get it to fit against the wall. I think I'd rather leave it intact and save the parts for another day in case I decide to move the grain elevator for whatever reason. I decide to set up a farm scene on a different part of the layout. Okay, there we go. So I'm not going to attach it, not going to paint it. I'm not going to weather it either. And say I've got them all bundled up, and I'll tell you what's going to happen. I'll have this bundled up and I'll stick it in a place where I know it's safe. And if you ask me 3 runs from now if I know if these parts are safe, I'll say yeah. But if you ask me where are they, I won't know. So you could probably kiss these goodbye. But I'll keep them somewhere safe anyway. Anyway, okay, I've got that, got these painted. Like I say, I may need to hit them with a second coat, but this is good for now. So, there's something else I want to show you. Something else I learned or else remembered. When I, hold on, let me put this paint away. Take a time out. Alright, now that I've got my paint put away, let me do some backtracking here. One of the decisions I made when I assembled this model was not to paint the mullions in the window, these little cross pieces in there, because I could not think of a relatively quick and easy way of doing this that wouldn't take forever and wouldn't mess up the glass panes. I mean, it just never occurred to me how to do it. And so while I was spray painting the shed that's on top of the silos themselves, I ended up popping the windows out, and it wasn't hard to do. These windows will come out, if you don't overdo it on your cement, will pop out fairly easily with an X-Acto knife. Let me take one and pry it under. This is going to make a liar out of me. There we go. See? It comes off fairly easy, and I'm glad I was a bit conservative with it. So I popped the windows out in the shed, and I kept thinking some more, and then for some reason I kept thinking about DVDs and Sharpie markers, and how Sharpie markers will mark on a DVD and stick to a smooth surface. And so I thought, hey, why not paint the mullions with a Sharpie marker? Well, then it led me to remember that I read about it long ago, sometime in Model Railroader. There was one of those little helpful hints where it says, oh, okay, if you got mullions to paint, use a Sharpie marker on your parts. You know, so this is probably easiest to do when you still have the windows in your plastic mounts, but it's actually very easy to do. Okay, let me show you. Try to give you a close-up here. You got the tip of the marker, and you just brush the top. Lay it down flat. You don't want to poke down like that. Just kind of lay it flat and just brush it with the edge. So that way you keep the marker out of the glass pane. You don't mess that up. So lay it like that. Oops. And just go around. Go around like this. Let me go. Oops. I'm going to wipe it off with my hands here. Alright. Like that. All the way around. Then go up the center. Like I say, don't go straight up and down. Go like that. Use a flat part of the marker. Alright? Or else you'll mess up the window pane inadvertently. And there you go. Relatively simple way of doing mullions. And if you want to make wood mullions, you would use a brown marker. Simple. So let me show you the difference here and how it looks. This is one side. This is a side that's going to face the wall. I'm going to go ahead and do these two just since I took the pains to take the windows out of the other sides of the model. I'll do it here too, but I won't show you that. But here's without the mullions painted, and here is the model with the mullions painted. Looks tons better. So this is kind of one of those things where I thought, man, I wish I had thought of this sooner, but I don't know, must be that age thing starting to settle in. But just a tip for you, if you want really good looking windows on your plastic kits and they're molded in a way that the mullions are molded in to the windows themselves, just think Sharpie marker and lay the Sharpie marker down flat. Don't use the tip, use the side. Mark them up and come out of the plastic frame, and then well, let them dry first, and then glue them in place, and you're good to go. You're good to do your weathering, and that'll be the next phase. I'll probably do that later, but anyway, that's my tip for the day. This is the model set in place. I just set it there to give myself an idea of how it's going to look in context on the layout, and this way now I'll be able to adjust where I'm going to put my track. Actually, this is going to look this will look pretty cool, having this track lower down than the main line, so that's going to work out well. So the next thing excuse me, next thing I'll need to do is actually finish this, put the cork road bed, sand it down, get it down level here, and I'll still need to do some weathering on this, but I've pretty much got the basic parts all painted the way I want to. So And as you can see here, I'm not going to have enough room to put the truck shed because it's only got about maybe 3/4 of an inch between the back end of the elevator and the wall here. So I'm not going to have enough room to do that now. What I'll probably do is put some bushes or a tree here, and let's just say that's the tree. Well, maybe that doesn't work, but anyway, just imagine that's a tree or a set of bushes, and then you could imagine a truck kind of sitting partially out to imply that there is a shed back there that, whoops, where all the loading and unloading is going. Have a couple more trucks here waiting and stuff like that. So that's all for at least airbrushing the structure for now. I mean, I'll probably do another couple of videos on doing the weathering and stuff like that. So, but there she goes.